Hello and welcome back to the No Huddle podcast. I apologize for being off for the last 2 weeks. I got extremely sick, but it's good to be back. It's good to be able to start recording again. And my God, what a week to come back to. I was prepping for the episode. Took me a good bit of time. And I come to the end of it, and I'm like, I just have so many more games I want to talk about. But at the end of the day, I'm already full of notes. We already have like a long show ahead. So there's so much to talk about this week. Both the unbeatens are gone. That's crazy. The Chiefs are now have a team with a losing record. The Jaguars and the Colts are 4-1. So much to talk about. But let's get started with the game on Monday night because that's the one that just happened. The Chiefs and the Jaguars. Now, this game, the Jaguars win 31-28. Patrick Mahomes goes for nearly 400 total yards of offense. He was pretty unbelievable out there with the exception of one really, really brutal pick that we will talk about a little more. Trevor Lawrence had about 220 yards, and he picked up 60 yards on the ground. Trevor Lawrence on the ground this game was unbelievable. Nearly any time they needed a big play outside of that last drive, every time it felt like they could just give the ball, like Trevor Lawrence would just scramble, and it would work. And I don't know about you, but I haven't seen that in a long time, where Trevor Lawrence scrambling was the engine of offense. It's been since college, where I've seen him take off like that. And it seemed like the Chiefs just were not ready for it at all. And I mean, I don't blame him. Who goes into the game thinking, oh, shit, we need to worry about Trevor Lawrence running? Other than that, the Chiefs' offense as a whole looked honestly pretty good. They were getting some explosive runs for the first time all year, I want to say. So, yeah, it's just the Jaguars. Ended up just finding a way to win this game. Now, this team is now 4-1. Huge wins over the Niners, my team, sadly. That's, if I had to miss an episode, at least I'm happy I didn't have to talk about that one. Huge wins over us and now Kansas City in back-to-back weeks. They are now 4-1, tied with the Colts for the first place in the AFC, and I think tied for first place, or for the AFC South, and tied for first place in the AFC, which is crazy. And, this is probably Trevor Lawrence's best, game since, or like the best moment for him since coming back down 27-0 against the Chargers. It's unbelievable. It's great. The Trevor Lawrence experience really is a roller coaster. He has so many just like, what are you doing reads, just missing easy throws. Like, and even in this game, he had a wide open Travis Etienne in the flat midway through the game in the red zone. Easily could have hit him, could have been a touchdown, and he just didn't throw it. And it's like, whoa, come on. Like, even the most basic of quarterbacks, even the worst quarterbacks are going to hit that flat because it's so open. It's in their face. Still doesn't throw it. But, it's so hard. I understand. I'm not a Trevor Lawrence fan personally, but I understand why it's hard for his fans to give him up because it's because of throws like that he has on that last drive. That throw to Brian Thomas Jr. was unbelievable. I'm watching the game. I start screaming out. I see Jalen Watson on Brian Thomas Jr. one-on-one. 3rd and 13. You need a big play. That's going to be your best shot. I don't care about like how this year has been going. That's your shot to go win the game. And he throws it just perfectly right in between these two defenders. And it was like one of those throws just like, dang, all right, Trevor. And then he's able to draw that pass interference late on third down, or in that third down, which, was a little iffy. But, when it comes to calls for this game, my God, it was a mess. And they find a way to win and get the touchdown. And I'm going to talk about the Chiefs side of it here real quick. For the Chiefs, I mean, this whole year really is just, well, what if last year happened, but it was flipped? What if it's, instead of going 11-0 in one-score games, you are now 0-3 in one-score games? And it's not necessarily because you look all that different from last year. It's just because, the ball stopped bouncing your way magically, right? In this game, the Chiefs have a huge mistake. They kick the ball out of bounds right before the Jaguars get the ball for their last drive. And it's a killer. I mean, it's a Jaguars offense where realistically you are not that scared of Trevor Lawrence and that team walking out, needing 7 to beat you. But if you're going to get them at the ball at the 40, it all of a sudden becomes a real problem. And then for the inverse side of it, the Chiefs, they get the ball back, do 23 seconds and 3 timeouts, which, for teams not named Kansas City, Buffalo, or Baltimore with Lamar, is usually a game ender. But in this case, or Cincinnati with Burrow, I forgot to mention. But, it's Mahomes. We've seen him do it with 13 seconds of timeouts. So when he gets the ball back, he's like 23 seconds, ball back. It's feasible. It's very feasible. But it was over the second that the returner returns the ball out, kills 7 seconds on the clock, and they get a penalty. So he has the ball. They have the ball back at the 20. It's just not going to happen from there. And time again this year, Kansas City has made the uncharacteristic mistakes. This is a team where all of last year and even the last 2 years has been they will let you make the killer mistake. You will be the one to mess up, to lose the game. They're going to take advantage. They won't turn the ball over, and that'll be it. And now this year, it's a complete inverse. They're the ones finding mistakes. They're the ones whose players are giving up on the last play. Like, what the hell was Chris Jones doing on that fourth down, or on the Trevor Lawrence scramble to go win the game? I mean, it's killer. Like, it's about there's a player on the Niners. Sorry to bring up the Niners here this early, but there's a player on the Niners. His name is Jake Brendel, as our center. And he has this brutal thing where he just gives up on the play early, and he stands around and he watches. And, sometimes could he have just done nothing else on the play? Yeah. But it is especially frustrating as a fan when an athlete just gives up on a play. Like, you don't know what's going to happen. And on that play specifically, if Chris Jones was started hauling ass a little earlier, who knows? He probably could have caught him. And, maybe we're looking at a different thing. Maybe it's that thing where the Jaguars tried to sneak and they could force another fumble. Who knows? But when your players are the ones who are giving up, unlike last year where they were playing they weren't making those mistakes. That's the thing I keep coming back to with this Chiefs team time and time again. It is just different. It is not the killers we know from before. It's not the new Patriots of just like always having the right call, always having the right play. It's a little off. And that was my takeaway a few weeks ago. I come back, and it's the same takeaway still. It's still something's off. It's going for the positive side. That offense for Kansas City is actually starting to look really good. Tyquan Thornton, when you add him to a receiving core of Xavier Worthy and Hollywood Brown, it's brutal for teams to guard. You're adding, 4.27 speed, 4.21 speed, and 2 something. So very fast with Tyquan Thornton. And, last week he was able to make an impact. And now just when you add him to that team of three, you can tell the Jaguars are kind of we're struggling out there. It was just because it's so hard to guard three receivers with that level of speed. And if it's something where even when Rashee Rice comes back, that problem doesn't necessarily get any better for defenses. Like, Rashee Rice is still an unbelievably fast receiver. And that is really what's going to be this thing that sets apart this Chiefs team or this Chiefs offense from years past, where it's just how many fast guys they have. And it makes it pretty fun to watch again, which is something that is nice to say. Like, when the last 2 years where the way the Chiefs won was just check the ball down a million times. Now their checkdowns actually could do something. Their checkdowns can go run for 20, 30 yards, or Mahomes can hit a bunch of deep crossers. And I think once they add Rashee Rice back, we are going to get a variation of, like, if you watch First Things First, like the light show. We're going to get I think we're going to get some theatrics with that offense. But even with all that being said, they are now 2-3 heading to play Detroit next week on Sunday Night Football. And that is a game that is now almost like you feel in your gut it's like a must win. Because I know that, yes, they can come back down they can be 2-4, and they could probably still rally back to win the division, but it's one hell of a task, and it's one that gives you no margin of error, especially when you're a first-place team, when your division is looking really competent outside of the Raiders. You're not going to have many breaks in the schedule. You're going to have to just go out there and win every week to be back in the playoffs, which, we'll see. Now, do I think Kansas City's going to miss the playoffs, by the way? Absolutely not. No. They'll obviously find a way because they will. I will need to see that with my own eyes to believe it. But right now, the biggest problem for Kansas City is twofold. And again, it's the same thing I've said 2 weeks ago. They can't run the ball well. I know I let off with the fact that they did have some explosive runs. I know they had a nice run with Kareem Hunt. And they have something here with this rookie running back out of SMU who they really like, and they're getting a lot more touches too. But they just can't. They still can't run the ball great. And it's that last thing that's kind of hampering their offense to where they can, get it fully all the way back. But I think that's something also for them that should be really fixable because I'm not sure if it's an offensive line issue. Like, I think their guys can run block well enough. It is just that I don't think they have a very talented running back on the roster right now. That's something they can probably even sign a guy to go get because there's always a million talented running backs out there in free agency. But if they don't want to sign a guy, like by all means, they could definitely trade for one eventually. And I think that's something that fixes a lot of their problems. The real struggle that they have, and I think the biggest issue that's just not going, they can't trade really to get it better. Their pass rush is bad. Like Trevor Lawrence was comfortable in that pocket. A couple of times he like ran and made himself more uncomfortable than he needed to be because it's the Trevor Lawrence experience, a little up and down. But that offense was clicking all night, and there was not much that like their pass rush was going to do about it. In the past, Chris Jones and George Karlaftis, and I know they lost Tershawn Wharton in free agency last year. You could just tell like the slow chip away at that defensive line, guys getting signed elsewhere and others such. It's starting to take a toll because they really can't rush the quarterback at all right now. And it's causing their secondary to start to get exposed a bit. Because, of course, Trent McDuffie is a phenomenal corner, but that last drive, they just went to Jalen Watson, and it worked. And I don't even think Jalen Watson is necessarily that bad of a player. It's just that, the Jaguars receivers are unbelievably talented, like Brian Thomas Jr. And their safety play isn't great. Their linebacker play is really not that great. And their defense is going to come down to, can Spags just make miracle calls to save us? Kind of like Robert Saleh and the Niners, a little bit. With all the injuries, still trying to find a way to win. Because they're going to need just well-timed Spagnuolo blitzes, like bend, don't break. That has to be their identity of their defense right now. Because that Jaguars team, the way their offense has been running for the last 5 weeks, has no business scoring 31 points. 24 technically with the Devin Lloyd pick 6, but they also should have scored, so whatever. I'm just going to call it 31. Like, that team has no business putting up 31. That offense, it's like their quarterback, you made Trevor Lawrence really feel like he was back at Clemson again, which is something that hasn't happened in years. So that Kansas City defense is really going to have to start picking up. We'll see next week. Next week is going to be their biggest test against Detroit. Because if they play this game like they play, or if they play Detroit like they played this game on the defensive side of the ball, Detroit's winning up 50. And it doesn't matter what that Kansas City offense does. Let's go big picture real quick for the Jags because, I think it's safe to say that they're a real playoff contender adjacent, I'd say, right? Because you still have the big boys. You still have Buffalo. You still have, I'm so used to saying Buffalo, Baltimore, Kansas City, by the way. And it's so weird that right now all I can say is Buffalo, of course, even with their loss. You still have Buffalo, Indianapolis. Again, also crazy that I'm saying Indianapolis. It's I don't know if they're in that 1A dominant type of tier right now. But you can make a strong argument that they're probably the most scary team in the AFC playoffs outside of in the notorious big names. Because I'm telling you, no team wants to play Jacksonville. Any week, no team wants to play Jacksonville because of what that defense can do turning over the ball. Devin Lloyd has got, 4 picks in 5 games? He had 2 last week, 1 this week. He is playing out of his mind. And that whole defense really is just so good at forcing turnovers. The way they're coached, they bait turnovers better than any other team in the league. And even watching last game, Patrick Mahomes, I had a gut feeling that I'm just waiting for that one mistake because this Jacksonville team will always force it. And it makes their defense really, really fun to watch. And it makes it so that even when their offense, of course, usually when Trevor Lawrence is not playing like the god from Clemson, it balances their offense a bit. The Niners game, that second half, that offense just could not move at all. And it didn't matter because they were able to force a bunch of turnovers and get big stops. So, very high floor, low ceiling with this team, in my opinion. If Trevor Lawrence could keep playing, just not even great, just solid. If Trevor Lawrence can keep playing, just to play solid football down the stretch, this team can be really good and really dangerous. But I really am scared of Trevor Lawrence going to the Trevor Lawrence that I've known for the last 2 years and really hampering this team. That would be that's my main concern with Jacksonville. And I'm telling you, every team in the AFC right now is nervous as hell about Jacksonville if Trevor Lawrence can keep his shit going. We'll see. Okay, man, I'm hyped. After 2 weeks, it's great to start to keep talking about football again. Okay, let's go to the Broncos and the Eagles. The Broncos were only 3.5 point dogs in this game, by the way, heading in. And I was like, that's kind of crazy. because Vegas really didn't have, like, in theory, you see a 2-2 team versus a 4-0 team that's coming off a Super Bowl win. You don't think 3.5 points at home. Like, no, I definitely thought heading into we could be like something like 7, but no, maybe Vegas was onto something because Denver ends up getting the win. A big comeback from out of Denver. They come back down 17-3, and with this game, it was a combination of just really good like Denver solid play in the second half. Like Bo Nix in that second half was awesome. Played the when Bo Nix is in rhythm and Sean Payton is in rhythm with him, man, he can cook. He really can cook. Like, they were walking down the field on those 2 drives. And in the last drive, they got the ball back with about 7.5 minutes, and they were able to kill most of that with, like, maybe like a minute 30 left. And that was huge because it felt like if Philly was getting the ball back, then it would have been a whole different game with, like, 6 minutes. They can control the clock, and Denver would have been kind of boned. But for Denver to not only come away with points and kill that much time on that last drive, that was so huge. And it was something I really didn't expect, but it was great out of Denver. So that whole second half, yeah, like they had that passing game going. They really do have something fun with that running game with J.K. Dobbins and I think R.J. Harvey when he eventually gets enough snaps as a rookie and they trust him a little more. Because Dobbins is of course just a great consistent runner, gonna get like 4 to 5 yards a carry. And Harvey's got so much explosiveness to him. I'm telling you that Broncos running game really could carry them. Later. Nick Bonito. Nick Bonito. Don't get me started on some Nick Bonito. Signed a huge extension, by the way, before the season started, and that feels like such a discount because he's so good. He's already got like 7.5 sacks through 5 weeks, and all those sacks are just like huge momentum plays. I feel like every time. Like in this game, when both of the plays that Nick Bonito had were just massive in terms of turning the game. At least they felt that way. And he's looking so good. Like, I genuinely think that the Broncos made such a good move getting him done early. Because if they waited until this year was done, they were going to have to pay him that 40 mark, like 40, 42. I don't know how edge rusher contracts are going to work after the Micah thing. I'm just going to say they probably would have gotten 40. And for Philly, heading into this game, I really don't understand what's happening with their offensive play calling. I'm sorry. I'm going to be a little, like, just frustrated here. Here's the thing. Again, I don't like the Eagles. But to see Saquon Barkley get 6 carries in a game, like, are you kidding? I don't care what the score was. But the thing is, they were up. They were up 17-3, and they didn't give Saquon the ball. It's frustrating. It's so weird watching this Eagles team. And, they just won the Super Bowl, so they're going to be in primetime, and they're going to have a big game every week, so I'm stuck watching them. It's so weird. I don't understand what the hell is happening. I don't know what their OC is doing. I genuinely feels like he just like reads comments on YouTube or on Instagram or Twitter or whatever, and he's like, "Oh shit, you know what? That was a great idea. I need to do that." This week with all the drama going on with like AJ Brown, even though they're 4-0 and their receivers complaining, which don't get me started on that. 4-0, but he doesn't have enough targets, and maybe Devontae Smith was complaining a little bit too. I'm not too sure on that one. Maybe I just gave him a giant stray. But he's like, my receivers are complaining. Let me give them the ball. Like, that's cool. Yeah, give them the ball. Great. Kid, you could also still run the ball. It was so weird. Like, it's just massive course correction over and over again. First few weeks, it's like, yeah, we're winning, but we genuinely don't know how to throw the ball. But we could at least still run the ball, be solid, let the defense win. Like, it's an annoying strategy. I don't know if it's necessarily the most sustainable one, but, like, it worked. What the hell is this? Throw the ball with Jalen Hurts 38 times? If someone had told me heading into the year, do you think Jalen Hurts will throw for over 35 times once this year? I would have said no. Like, because there's no reason for them to. And I know their running game isn't what it was last year. Like Saquon Barkley's, it's like, rush yards per attempt. Just like generally the way you can look with the eye test. I know it's not the same. But to give him 6 carries in a game you were up 17-3. That second half should have just been run the ball over and over and over and over and over again. And it was still a passing game. I will never understand. Thankfully for any fantasy owners, for Saquon, he had that 50-yard touchdown catch, which probably just made the day by itself. Because I know sure as hell him running the ball didn't. It's weird. It's really, really weird. And I try not to do overreaction on this. I love doing the big picture thing and talking about the positives of a team, like I just did with Jacksonville. And earlier, it's like, let's see one more week, But this OC might just suck. He really might just suck. Like, I don't know. I'm sorry, by the way. Completely did that. I don't understand what the logic is with that. Uh, I think my gut shot is that if it keeps going on this trek, they're going to have to do what they did 2 years ago, and they're going to just have to give play calling duties. I don't know if you remember with Sean Desai and Matt Patricia, like the smart version of that, not give the play calls to Matt Patricia, but maybe give the play calls to the QB coach. Definitely not Sirianni, of course, but anybody else, because this guy he genuinely might not know what he's doing, because throwing the ball 38 times is how you blow that 14-point lead, even with the defense kind of struggling there in that second half. Sidebar. I think the Eagles might actually also have a problem at that second corner spot, because it feels like every week that's how teams are able to move the ball. Because if you look at that Eagles defense, there's really not many holes on it. They're getting Quinyon Mitchell's a beast. He didn't have a great game, by the way. It's just weird because he's like this big physical corner, but Cortland Sutton kind of took his lunch money over and over again. Cortland Sutton was kind of cooking him, which maybe just chalk it up, young player, bad game. Or maybe that's just he might have a real problem with that super physical mismatch. But we get lost track here. That second quarter for Philly, earlier was Adoree Jackson, then this game it was Keely Ringo. They might need to go make a move to go get a second corner, a real solid one, because that loss of Darius Slay is being felt right now. It's not just Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean being able to take over people they hope that they could. I think they really do need one more guy on that outside. And that way they can also leave Cooper DeJean in the slot full time. So, again, I'm going to big picture for the Eagles. Real concerns at offensive coordinator now. It's 5 weeks. I think we can officially say that. There is a genuine and serious problem for them at OC. And that running game does not look like what it was. Maybe that's just because he needs more carries. But, in general, it really doesn't look like what it was last year. So it's going to have to be a lot more of Jalen Hurts playing really good, consistent football, which I believe he can do. And we'll see as far as that goes. But for the Broncos, after all that ranting, it's going to be good to say this. They're 3-2. They had a rough loss to the Chargers a few weeks ago that might end up biting them for the division. But 3-2, missing a huge defensive piece in Dre Greenlaw. Whenever he comes back, which as an Irish fan, I know that's a difficult thing to say, when you get Greenlaw back, because there's never a guarantee as to when the hell Greenlaw is back on the field and how long he's on the field for. Because he's such a great player, but he's also such a physical player. And it feels like right now that he cannot stay on the field. But when he's back, that defense is going to be awesome. It's going to be humming like no other. Their secondary play right now is great. They're getting so much pass rush from Benito and crew. And when they add that true superstar linebacker, which I think he's a superstar, maybe I'm just biased, but when they added him into the mix, that Broncos defense is gonna be awesome. And then they get Bo Nix playing the way he did in the second half. That'll be fun. And that run game, man, there's so many positives and fun things with this Broncos team. I feel like that's the word I say the most on this podcast, by the way, is fun, because I really do just love watching good teams play and seeing these teams get slowly built over the offseason. And we wait, we see we think about what they can do, and then actually see it on the field is a whole different thing. But yeah, I think this Broncos team has a lot of gas to it. They're good. If they can stay fully healthy, and if they can get this type of production out of Bo Nix in that run game, they're going to be fun. They're going to be a real threat for the AFC West if they can keep this up. Okay, heading forward, we have the Patriots and the Bills. This was the second undefeated team and the last one to get defeated on Sunday. Somewhere the 1972 Dolphins popping a bottle of champagne. Always my favorite tradition every year that we get to say that. Somewhere a bunch of old heads who probably don't even understand what the hell is even happening at this point. Get a bottle of champagne, pop that shit open, and start celebrating. But I don't know if they're going to be celebrating for the Patriots, because it was the Drake May national stage breakout game. Because this whole year he's been great. Drake May has been the engine that's kept that offense going, even through all of the really, really stupid running back turnovers they keep having and fumbles. I don't understand how Ramondre Stevenson still gets carries in the big 2-5, but, whatever. But Drake May was awesome this game. Stephon Diggs was really, really good, and that'll be like the big question for them is can they keep getting this sort of production out of Diggs? And Drake May went toe to toe with Josh Allen. It's crazy to say this in year 2 that he was able to do that in a game, but he really did, and he didn't make the mistakes that Josh did. Josh had that brutal interception in the red zone. Sorry, Josh had that big interception in the red zone, and Drake May didn't. And Drake May didn't make that mistake. In fact, he had this really, really nice play on the last game-winning drive. It was all over my Instagram feed, so it'd probably be all over yours, of him falling to the ground, one knee, and just chucks it. And it's such a nice play, and it's such a big play. It's it's turning a big negative into a big positive. And it's fun to watch this Patriots team when they're clicking like that, because we know how good their defense can be. Like, for one, they have Mike Vrabel leading the helm now. And when there's such a big difference in this team when they have Christian Gonzalez and when they don't have Christian Gonzalez, because we saw it through the first few weeks. Like, something just didn't seem right. They gave up 400 yards to freaking Geno Smith, who, by the way, is probably going to be out of a job soon, which is, that trade. I'm going to get sidetracked if I talk about Geno. But now they have Gonzalez, and they're shutting down the Bills. Whew. I think the Bills will be fine. I'm going to head to the Bills piece of it. The Bills will be fine. They just had a little bit of an uncharacteristic game for them. They really couldn't run the ball for them, which is kind of a killer now for them under Joe Brady, because they run the ball so much under Brady. They were trying to get James Cook going. He had 16 carries, and they were really just slamming over and over again and into a brick wall on that Patriots run defense, because this Patriots run D is really good. It's top 5 in the league. And they showed it on a national stage. And when the Bills can't run the ball, they really don't click the way that we've seen them do, and they don't look as unstoppable. Josh had a few just really unfortunate mistakes, which ended up being a killer for them. They also had those 2 early fumbles in the first quarter when they definitely could have taken advantage, because the Patriots had a fumble of their own. So for the Bills, I'm not too worried. They're still going to be hunting for that 1 seed regardless. I just think this is a really annoying loss for them, because now they're going to have the Patriots sort of on their ass for the division for at least the next half of the year, because the Patriots' schedule is really easy for a good while. They're just going to have to make sure they keep winning their games, because the Patriots are going to win a good bit of them, at least in the short term. And I trust that their offense is going to, or for the Bills' offense is going to be back to clicking again. Something to keep an eye on, by the way, is their lack of a true wide receiver one on the outside is really annoying for them. Sometimes you can tell on the 3rd down and 10 that they just really want to have a guy like they used to have with Stephon Diggs, or it's you just know it's going to be an easy conversion. Khalil Shakir can be that guy for them at times, but at the end of the day, still a slot receiver. They need Keon Coleman to take that next step if they want to hit that true best team in the league sort of status, because right now, them not having it is brutal. They really need Keon Coleman to take that next step. Hopefully he can for them by the end of the year. But as of right now, his lack of speed's pretty brutal. And the turnovers, he still has a few drops. It's not great. Big picture for the Patriots. Like I said before, their schedule is really, really easy. I think the next 3 teams have a combined 3 wins for them. So they definitely could get on that. Drake May genuinely looks like the real deal. It looks like that quarterback class, the 2 best quarterbacks out of it, will be Jaden Daniels and Drake May. We'll talk about Jaden in a bit here. Because the way he's making this offense work, now that he has a receiver and a little bit of offensive line protection, it's nice. I think he has the best completion percentage in the league, too, for what that's worth. And the biggest thing for them is going to be, can Stephon Diggs keep this up? Stephon Diggs had 146 yards and on 10 catches. So, this is either 2 things. It's 1, Stephon Diggs played his old team. We know Stephon Diggs is kind of a petty receiver. All of the great receivers are pretty petty. And this game really meant something to him. He needed to go into Buffalo and go prove that he's still that guy, at least for this game. And, go prove the Bills, have a vendetta. Or it's that he's just genuinely back. He needed some time off of the ACL. He needed a few games to get his feeding back, and this is just now the digs we're going to get. If it is option A and this was just like a one-game thing, I am not extremely high on the Patriots. I think they're just like a borderline playoff team, and they'll may either bounced early or we'll sort of just see how they're. We will head into the year not being too scared of them, or at the end of the year. If it is the route B of Stephon Diggs is just back, like the biggest problem with this Patriots team was their lack of receiving core. It was killing them. But now you gave them that. If you really did give Drake May in this offense a real wide receiver one, they're going to be really dangerous because that defense can fly. That Drake May is not making mistakes. Such a high efficiency player, and then the Patriots are going to be a very scary team. So as far as how I feel about the Patriots, I genuinely do want to see 1 or 2 more weeks before I make an evaluation. Like they have those 3 simple games coming up. Good teams will just handle business. Maybe we've seen now the Bills struggle with the Saints, but outside of that, just make sure you don't drop those games. And if they come out of those next 3 games 6-2, like they should, then I think it'll be time to really be like, okay, yeah, the Patriots are right there. Okay, moving on to the Texans and the Ravens. The Texans put absolute belt to ass. No other way to put it. Sorry for being vulgar. They win 44-10. C.J. Stroud 244 yards, 4 touchdowns. Cooper Rush 3 picks. That ground game for Baltimore was completely stuffed because there was just genuinely no threat of them being able to throw the ball. Nick Chubb looked really good in this game. I know a lot of people, by the way, who started Woody Marks this game. Sucks for them. Absolutely brutal. I think I ended up winning 2 fantasy games off the fact that my opponent started Woody Marks. But 44-10 is a hell of a statement. And I know that of course Ravens are injured to hell. Their defense right now really isn't good. It's genuinely the worst defense in the league. But for the Texans, such a big thing for them was just their offense was just incompetent. It did not work. It made no sense as to why it didn't work, but it just did not work. Right? Their offensive line was bad. C.J. Stroud was bad. The receivers were bad. The running game was bad. Everything was bad. So it was a movable object meeting a stoppable force heading into this week. And to see not only maybe the Texans could have put up 20, 27, I wouldn't have really, changed my mind at all about them. But to see them out there, just go out there and put 44. No way around it, just belt. That was so cathartic as someone who's wanted to see this Texans team succeed. And it really likes a lot of their players. They just finally, it clicked. I think maybe we'll see that fourth quarter against Tennessee, where instead of, turning a 6-0 lead into a 26-0 shutout win, I think we might actually see that as a really important pivotal moment for this Texans team. Because if that offense can click, I know I'm saying if a lot this episode, but I think that's just, what you say when you're at the quarter point of the season. You used to just say if a lot. But if that Texans offense is good, we know how good that defense is. We know how good the play caller of that defense is in D'Amico Ryans. There is so much here. There's talent on this team, even with them trading Larry Tunsil before the season started, which is really stupid. And again, another side tangent that I don't want to get into. 5 quarters of them of really, really good offense now with that fourth quarter in Tennessee and these four quarters. They are the X factor of the AFC, in my opinion. Because if that offense, man, because it's C.J. Stroud, we know can be a great quarterback. We saw it his rookie season. I don't believe it's just whatever. His rookie year teams figured out what he put on tape. No. I really do think there's something there. We know Nico Collins is such a good receiver. With how well that team can play. Because we've seen it. We've seen it for we saw it his rookie year, and we saw it towards the end of last year. They could be that team. They could be that team you really don't want to play. That whole AFC South. That's my big vibe of the AFC South right now. Which, heading into the year, I thought would be an absolute trash can. But now it's there's 3 teams in there that any AFC team really does not want to play, especially come the postseason. Moving on to the Baltimore side of it, I think they might be cooked, which is crazy to say. There was a list of 5 or 6 teams that you thought would be safe this year. It's they're going to be good. It was the Bills, the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Lions, and the Eagles. Whereas, like, okay, those are the 5 safe teams. But this year, like, I think the Ravens just might be that one team, where it's like they randomly just fall off. And, of course, with them, all the injuries don't help. Like, it's genuinely an ungodly amount of injuries for them. But, I mean, 44-10 to that Texans offense that couldn't do anything for the whole year to allow 44 to that team. Like, at some point, as a defensive coordinator, you got to show some life. As a defense, you got to show life. You're still pro football players. You're athletes. Like, go do something. And I really don't like Zach Orr. I really don't like the Zach Orr John Harbaugh combination. I'm getting tired of it. I'm tired of seeing this Ravens team collapse at the end of the year like they've done for the last 7 years. Or however long since Lamar's been there. I think it was 2019 they first started looking really good. So 6 years. I am. I think I am. This may have been a necessary evil when it comes to Baltimore, is just taking your big lump this year so that you can reset and get a new coach next year. At the very least, a new DC. Because, I mean, they are just doing. They are the single worst defense in the league, and right now they're just like they're a baby crap team. Like next week they're playing Cooper Rush against the Rams, probably. I think that's the reports. And right now that game would probably be like 50-5 or somehow 5. Maybe Stafford would give them a pity safety. Maybe like 50-3 Rams. And it's not even hyperbole to say they just lost 44-10 to a worse team. So that Rams game might just genuinely be absurdly brutal. Because, I mean, I'm kind of struggling for a way to give better analysis here. Because the Ravens have given me nothing to analyze. It is just a crap team right now. And it is a crap team that will probably be 1-5 heading to the bye, whose sole hope is you add Lamar, and then you just carry your offense to win. Because I don't know about how or when that defense will get better, because I know they have a lot of injuries, and they need guys to come back. But they still gave up 41 to Buffalo. They still gave up a ton of points to KC. And for the most part, their guys were healthy heading into those games. And Namdi Matabuike is going to be out for the whole year. So I don't see their ability to stop the run getting any better either. And the interior pass rush being better. They just traded their edge rusher, who I know has struggled for them, for a safety. Like, I don't see their pass rush getting better in any way. So it might be a bit early to say, but they might just be cooked at this point of the year. The big thing for them is just that their last 6 of the games of the year, if you've seen their schedule, are just so easy. Like, in theory, it's any halfway average team knocks them out, goes 6-0 down that run. But right now, the Ravens aren't a competent team. So I think, like, I want to see what they do against the Rams, especially if Lamar plays. If Lamar plays, I really do want to see, can they show some life? Can they not be the team that just falls over and dies? Because right now with the Ravens team, it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right. Like, it's not right. They are truly right now one of the worst teams in the league, and I don't see a path for that getting better in the next few weeks. And at that point, it might be too late. Let's head to. This is a lot of me ranting. This episode, because I'm frustrated with good teams or teams that should be good. Let's go to a team that, is not that they should be good. It's just that they lost in what could be the most hilarious fashion in the last few years. And I am, of course, talking about the Tennessee Titans and the Arizona Cardinals. Because, my God, I don't know what was in the water in Arizona. Because they produced a truly unbelievably awful fourth quarter. And a game where I had my hands on my head just in shock as to I don't know what I was watching. For those of you who are not aware, the Titans were down 21-6. The Cardinals have the ball, and they run for what looks like, the game-sealing score, 76 yards. Running back runs. And he just, right as he gets to the end zone, he does the Deshaun Jackson thing, and he just drops the ball for no good reason. And then his coach on the sideline, who I really don't like, Jonathan Gannon, Like I know he's like he worked his way up, which I can commend, but I really don't like Jonathan Gannon, the person as a personality. I just don't. I get horrendous vibes, and he's going up to Emer Decado. He like hits him. You hit a grown man over a football play. I don't think that's the way you win your locker room, but yeah. So they make that mistake. Tennessee's able to score, and the way they score is off of a Cam Ward interception that turns into, or that is caught and then proceedingly fumbled by the Cardinals player, then knocked around by 5 different other Cardinals players who couldn't get their hands on the ball, and like a few Tennessee guys. That ends up in the end zone, and that Tyler Lockett grabs on for a touchdown. And I think that was, by the way, the second touchdown they scored. Sorry. They're able to, and then Tennessee gets the ball back again, scores a game-winning field goal. That was, I think, for the Cardinals, that's probably the worst loss they've had in the last, 20 years. I can't think of anything worse. Or it's just a team fully imploding on themselves in the most hilarious fashion. And for the Cardinals, it's like, every time, on paper, they could always be like, oh, you don't know that fun team, that fun, sneaky team out in Arizona. But no one's ever scared of them, and it's for a good reason. This Arizona team is goofy every year. No way around it. They're just goofy. Because they're now 2-3 with a loss to the freaking Titans, and what was a very, very dumb loss to the Seahawks on Thursday night a few weeks ago. And it was a team that started 2-0. 2-0 against not great teams, but 2-0. And ever since Eddie Pinheiro hit that game-winning kick on them in week 3, it's been a mess. I don't know what's going on in Arizona, but what I do know is that it is a badly coached football team. No way around it. Their OC is awful. I hate Jonathan Gannon, and I don't think he's doing anything in the locker room to help this team. That would be my guess. Maybe I'm out of line for that, but all they have is they have a very talented receiver who for some reason can't get the ball past the first quarter. They chucked it up to him on the first play. It's like, okay, yeah, there you go. There's Marvin Harrison. And then they were just kind of done with him. God knows why. They have a quarterback who can't see or throw on the middle of the field, so it limits everything they can do on offense, which is killer. And, yeah, that's it. That is Arizona. So, as a Niners fan, I will continue to ignore them as a real team until they change their quarterback. In the past, I said that I will continue to ignore them until they change their goofy head coach, which was Cliff Kingsbury, which I was right about. And I will now extend that to until they change their quarterback and new head coach, Jonathan Gannon. I don't know if I don't love Gannon's defenses regardless, but I certainly don't love him as a personality for that team. Okay. We have a game that I want to talk about because it is probably, outside of the Patriots, it is the single biggest statement win this week, and it is not getting very much coverage because of the Eagles getting knocked down, in general, just how crazy this week was. And that was the Commanders, 27-10 against the Chargers. I mean, Jaden, he comes back for his first game. The Chargers started this game up 10-0. Everything was clicking for them. It looked good. And then Quentin Johnson fumbles the ball, and then at that point, the game fully flips. And the Commanders just start rolling them. They start absolutely cooking them. And the score ends up reading 27-10 at the end. And for the Commanders, they are now at 3-2. Jaden Daniels looks, that second half, he looked great. He's probably he seems to be fully healthy off that injury. Debo actually looks really good, which I love to see as a Niners fan. Always loved that guy. And this is a team that's still waiting for McLaurin to come back, and now we're starting to see a bit of that, NFC Championship team that we saw last year. We're starting to see that pieces come back because it didn't look right for the first few weeks, but we're starting to see them piece it together. And if they can get that that level of defensive production, then I'm almost saying a lot of this episode because there's a lot of scary, fun teams out there, scary young teams in the league right now. And for the Chargers, this is the main piece that I want to talk about. That's why I want to talk about this game. This is a team that was 3-0, right? And it looked like Herbert is an MVP candidate, top 5. Everything's looking great in Charger land. And it is why I always caution to overreacting for the first few weeks, when I'm talking to anybody. Because now they're 3-2. They played a real contender, and they got whooped in this one. I think maybe we may have been too early. on the Chargers. I know that Joe Altmaier injury, by the way, it was huge because you can just kind of tell, like, when he got injured in that Giants game, nothing has looked right since with this Chargers offense. And it's now worse. O'Marion Hampton's going to be out. He's on IR, so he's going to miss at least 4 weeks. And O'Marion Hampton was playing really, really good football. And he was a big part of that engine that just kept that offense moving. So it's going to be rough in Charger land for the next few weeks. I believe that, that there's that talent on the roster can still come back, and we can get back to seeing like the weeks 1 to 3 Chargers. But that won't be for a while. That won't be until the second half of the year until their guys get healthy. And right now the Chargers are so injured. And when you're playing in the division with the AFC West with the Broncos and the Chiefs, you really got to make sure you stack those early wins. Because right now it's good that they had those wins against Kansas City and Denver, where they're going to end up needing them. But Kansas City is going to win games. Denver is going to win a lot of games. I'm pretty high on Denver right now after that Eagles game. And I don't know how I feel about the Chargers right now as far as, I think they went from a team that felt like a lock to make the playoffs and even win their division to now like, we'll see. We'll have to keep an eye on them in the next few weeks. And, it's like with the Chargers, just a big lesson in reacting to the first 3 weeks and always being cautious. I'm going to talk about one more game. I want to go to the Niners-Rams game on Thursday night and what was a 26-23 win. I don't know if the instant reaction was seen. I was freaking out, losing my mind. I was having a great time. It was such an amazing win because you go out there with Mac Jones and Kendrick Bourne, and they're out there slinging it. Whew, it was awesome against that vaunted Rams pass rush. Because the Rams, right now, their linebackers and their corners really are not good. Especially with Ahkello Witherspoon out for the next few games. It's brutal. But, you can never really tell because of how good that pass rush is. And how good that defensive line can be when it comes to stopping the run now that they added Puna Ford. Which, by the way, was one of the more underrated transactions of the offseason, was getting Puna Ford on that defensive line. And because they were able to, Mac Jones was just getting rid of the ball so fast. It was lightning quick. A big part of that is because, it's Mac Jones, so you want to make sure nothing's too hard for him getting that first or second read. And the other part of it is, because how bad our offensive line is. But Kyle Shanahan was just calling the perfect play every time. Just letting him get that ball out quick. And that offense was moving. They were able to take that. They were able to take a 14-point lead. And for the Niners defense, it's amazing because now post Bosa injury, we have no ability to pressure the quarterback at all in any way. Bryce Huff got a sack in this game, but other than that, we can't rush the passer right now at all. And it's so awesome to see how this defense can bend but not fully break. Right, you can kind of let them move down the field, but then we can get a big turnover at the end. Or we'll hold them in the red zone and hold them to 3. And it's keeping this defense afloat. It's keeping this whole team afloat. The Niners really do desperately need to trade for a pass rusher, by the way, like Trey Hendrickson. If Cincinnati, doesn't keep it going with Joe Flacco, or doesn't, get a spark with Joe Flacco, which I'm going to go on a limb and say that they won't. Or Kevon Thibodeau on the Giants. They really do need somebody. Because that pass rush, it's not sustainable to keep winning like this, or for this defense to keep playing like this with no pass rush at all. It's just not what the Niners do, for one. And then the Niners' run game right now is also really, really brutal. We're getting such awful interior offensive line play that we cannot run the ball at all. Christian McCaffrey is getting something like 3 yards a carry. That's something that probably honestly won't fix itself this year. Because you still have the play of Jake Brendel. And we're not particularly not good guard play, especially because Pooney's injured right now. So I don't know how that will get better. And what it's turned the Niners into is a pass-first team, which is crazy to say with the 49ers. And it's, even with the backup quarterback out there, that was exactly the game plan. You had to pass the ball so many times in this game. And, I'm going to give a lot of credit to Mac Jones. Mac Jones fully stepped up, took 1 million hits. He was out there injured, nowhere near 100%, because he was coming off the PCL sprain from a week and a half prior, plus all of the hits he took in this Rams game, which he took a few gnarly ones. We saw him dry heaving on the sideline, just trying to keep it together near the end of that game, and he still went out there and he was diamond. He was he made the right play every time, which was huge. And he even had a few particularly nice throws, especially to Demarcus Robinson. He had a really nice back shoulder fade. He hit a really beautiful out route that sort of split two defenders. That was awesome to see on tape. Like, I'm going to give a lot of credit, but I also need to talk about the whole like quarterback controversy thing that I'm starting to see pop up on my timeline, and I'm starting to see the national media talk about. That is some bullshit. I'm sorry to keep it so blunt. Like, it has been 3 games with Mac Jones, and yes, he has played an amazing 3 games, but he's still very clearly not able to do everything that we want to do. It is just stuff that works. That's sort of a bit confusing. Let me sort of try and elaborate on that. We can't throw the ball like past 20 yards down the field with Mac Jones because he can't escape the pocket, and our offensive line is brutal. Like, it will at past 2 seconds, it's going to give up somebody. So because of that, Brock's ability to get out of the pocket and make plays and be able to push the ball down the field is something that Mac Jones just cannot do. And because of that, it sort of puts a hard ceiling as to how far we can throw the ball realistically. Like, I don't know why the Rams were playing so off in this game. Like, that was, I don't know, that was one of the biggest mistakes the Rams made all game. And they never fixed it, was how far back their corners were, because it allowed Mac to just get these quick hitters out to CMC, get the quick hitters out to Robinson and Kendrick. And it just kept that whole offense moving. Had they started playing a bit tied up, I really don't know what the Niners would have done, especially because our receivers were probably not going to be good enough this week to break them. And it's something I think the Bucs and Todd Bowles are going to take good advantage of. They're going to blitz, and they're going to play tight in our receivers. And I don't know if there's much that we can do about it. Much we can do about it. I think that was a book I had to read in high school. Sorry, I just got fully off track there. Second other thing with Mac, outside of sample size and not being able to push the ball down the field, we don't know what it looks like in a game plan that isn't just check the ball down a million times. Like, it works, but I really would want to see him like push the ball down the field in a real game. Like, I know he had a few particular like moments that you can definitely point to and be like, oh, like he pushed the ball down the field here. Like, he had that throw to Ricky Pearsall against the Cardinals a couple weeks ago, and he had that deep inbreaker to Juwan against the Saints. But it is 100% Brock's job still, and it will be that way even if Mac goes out there and wins another 5 games and plays amazing in those games, because of what Brock gives you in his ability to extend the plays and have a bunch of anticipation on his throws. And because when Brock's humming, it really does feel like Kyle Shanahan, and it has like that avatar of like he can do exactly what he wants to. It feels like, he can fully open up the playbook and call whatever he wants, so he knows his quarterback can get him the ball there. So to anyone who is like a big, either not the biggest Brock Purdy guy or has just sort of lost faith in Brock, I would say let him get healthy, let that toe get healthy, and I think you'll be back to seeing really, really fun Brock offense again, especially when Kittle comes back, and maybe not Ayuk, because Ayuk won't be back for a while. But once Kittle comes back, I think that you'll start to see just how that like 2023 Brock Purdy come out again and start to play really great. Like, I don't necessarily, like, fans who are right now, who are clamoring for Mac Jones to take the job, I don't necessarily blame them for seeing that, because right now they're just seeing us win. And after last year, which was especially a struggle, and even especially near the end for Brock, I would just say, like, let us see what a healthy Brock Purdy can do in this offense again, because we know how great he can look, and we know how many plays he can create. Like that Seahawks game, week 1, you don't win that game without Brock Purdy, even with his 2 picks, because of how well he was able to evade pressure and ignore it and find a way to win that game. Okay. I think that's going to be all. We're running at about 55 minutes. There's so many more games I still want to talk about, but I'm going to call it here. It has been an absolute pleasure. It's great to be back and talking football again. I'm hoping to get one more episode out before next week. We'll see. And yeah, I'm feeling a lot better. Great to be back, and thank you so much for listening, and I hope you all have a great day.